James Webb Space Telescope spotted a large object about 10 light years away moving toward Earth. The posts claim that the telescope captured the object changing its trajectory.
Far beyond the reach of ordinary telescopes, something strange has been moving through the darkness.
It's moving too quickly to have come from the outer reaches. It's from someplace else.
At first, it looked like another harmless space rock drifting by. But then, the James Webb Space Telescope locked onto it, and humanity realized it was not alone in watching the sky.
This is a very elongated spaceship that came from another star.
Something is coming that we do not understand, and whatever it is heading toward us with intent we cannot yet explain. The moment everything changed. For many months, 3I Atlas passed through the cold of deep space like a silent traveler. It was the third confirmed object from beyond our solar system, which already made it special.
3I Atlas, a third ever interstellar object observed from Earth, currently racing through our solar system.
Still, most scientists saw it as nothing more than a rare comet from another star system. It drifted smoothly. It followed a calm, predictable path. There was no reason to think twice about it. It felt distant, harmless, and quiet. Then, everything changed in an instant. The James Webb Space Telescope, watching from its position far beyond the Moon, detected something unusual. A faint warmth appeared from within the object. The reading did not match sunlight being absorbed or ice slowly warming. It rose in a smooth curve, like a controlled engine warming up or a biological system beginning to move. It looked like something inside 3I Atlas had come alive. This heat did not spread randomly. It stayed centered in one place, glowing softly from the core. Then, without warning, Webb detected a thin stream of energy leaving the object. It was not a splash of heat or a natural burst of gas. It looked more like a narrow, focused beam.
And it's only the third object ever confirmed to have come from interstellar space.
It flickered once, then again, each pulse landing at the exact same interval. Back on Earth, ground stations confirmed it. The timing was perfect, too perfect for any known natural process. Stars, comets, and rocks do not think. They do not pulse like a machine that knows what it is doing. They do not send out steady bursts like a signal trying to be noticed or measured. The world did not know yet, but in that moment, humanity crossed a line. The next shock came when 3I Atlas adjusted its path. It did not drift or curve because of a planet's gravity. It made a tiny, precise turn. It changed direction in a way that looked intentional. It was as if something inside had woken up, looked around, and made a decision. Astronomers stared at their screens in disbelief. For the first time, they saw a visitor from another star system act with purpose. It no longer behaved like a piece of rock. It no longer acted like it was simply falling through space. Something had changed, and the quiet traveler was not quiet anymore. People who studied the data in real time would later say they felt a weight in their chest. It was the feeling of witnessing something new, something powerful that did not fit the rules of nature as we understood them. In a single night, 3I Atlas went from a cold, drifting object to a mystery pulsing with controlled energy. And in that moment, scientists everywhere understood they were watching history unfold. That sudden shift pushed scientists to look closer, because the object was not just waking up, it was moving with intent. A sudden awakening in the dark. The quiet of deep space is steady and predictable. Objects move because gravity pulls them. Comets heat up only when they get close to a star, and even then, their behavior is messy and uneven. Nothing in the record of astronomy prepared scientists for what happened with 3I Atlas. The signals from it were not random. They followed a rhythm, rising and falling in a steady beat like a machine running checks on itself.
A comet that shouldn't even exist has lost its tail, defied physics, and grown mysteriously brighter when it should have become dull.
The intervals between each pulse matched known mathematical ratios commonly seen in engineered systems. This kind of precision did not happen in natural objects drifting through the void. The heat readings also confused experts. When comets warm up, the temperature jumps in sudden bursts as ice turns to gas. This object did not do that. Its temperature increased in a smooth and organized pattern. It rose, held steady, and fell in a clean cycle. It looked like a controlled reaction taking place inside its core, almost like something inside was waking up step by step. Telescopes then detected narrow and focused spectral lines.
It turns out that the two directions of the WOW signal and 3i Atlas are aligned.
Natural objects scatter light in wide and uneven patterns. These lines were thin and neat, more similar to communication signals or guided laser channels used on Earth. Scientists stared at the data, unsure if they were seeing a breakdown of physics or the beginning of something else. The most experienced astronomers described the behavior as if the object had purpose. They did not like those words, but they could not find better ones that fit the evidence. The pattern continued, and everything pointed to the same unsettling idea. Something inside 3i Atlas seemed to be running a process. It did not look like chemical ice melting or gas expanding. It looked like a startup sequence. The object acted like a system that had been idle for a long time and was now coming online in stages. Each heat pulse grew slightly stronger, each spectral signal sharpened, and the pauses between each cycle stayed perfect.
The comet's path will take it past even more of our robotic explorers.
Then things escalated. The core temperature rose again, and this time it did not fall back down. It stayed warm. With no warning, the object shifted its path. It did not drift. It did not wobble. It made a tiny and deliberate turn. Tracking stations saw it live. Gravity alone could not explain the movement. That meant there was some kind of force coming from inside the object, as if it had engines or a propulsion method scientists did not understand. The new path aimed toward the inner solar system. It curved smoothly, not like a rock pushed off course, but like a vehicle changing direction. It pointed toward regions with energy, heat, and planets that could support life. No known comet, asteroid, or interstellar rock had ever changed direction in such a controlled way. It moved like it had chosen a destination. Space agencies around the world went on alert. Experts gathered in emergency calls to study the data. Some called the moment a cosmic alarm bell. Others whispered that it felt like an awakening. The object no longer behaved like a silent traveler. It behaved like something aware of its path. As it traveled closer, the behavior only grew stranger, and soon it did things that broke even more rules of nature. An object that did not behave like a comet. When 3i Atlas moved closer to sunlight, astronomers expected normal comet behavior. Comets warm up, ice turns to gas, and sunlight makes them shine brighter. That part did happen, but not in the way anyone predicted. Instead of glowing white or pale gold like most icy bodies, the object shifted into a bright blue-green point in the sky. The color change happened quickly, and its glow became stronger at a speed far beyond what frozen space rocks normally show near the sun. It looked almost like someone had turned up a power dial from a distance. NASA used the James Webb Space Telescope to study the glow.
NASA-funded telescopes have their eyes on the sky all the time.
The first readings confirmed familiar materials such as water vapor and carbon dioxide. That fits what comets usually release. But then Webb spotted something that changed everything. There were traces of vaporized nickel in the emission cloud. Nickel is a metal that stays solid unless heated to extremely high temperatures. That kind of heat does not happen inside ordinary comets drifting through cold space. For nickel to turn into gas, something inside the object needed to produce intense energy, strong enough to superheat metal. To scientists, this discovery made no sense under normal physics. Cold interstellar objects do not suddenly start boiling metal unless there is some source of thermal activity inside them.
Now, the world's most powerful telescopes are hunting for answers to a question that keeps astronomers awake at night.
But the object had no known engine, no solar panels, and no nuclear heat signature they could identify. The vaporized nickel hinted at a controlled and consistent energy process happening within, one that kept the interior warm long before sunlight touched it. This raised a troubling question. What kind of system hides dormant in deep space and then wakes up only when it nears a star? Then telescopes noticed something even stranger. A dust plume formed, but instead of trailing behind the object like a normal comet tail, it pointed toward the sun. This shape is called an antitail. It means dust was not being pushed away by solar wind like it should. Instead, the dust lined up in a neat and stable path, suggesting a force or motion pattern scientists could not explain. Antitails are rare, and only seen when specific orbital angles and unusual dust structures line up perfectly. But in this case, the shape looked steady and controlled, almost like the object was managing the particles around it. Comet experts stared at the data in disbelief. They knew every normal explanation. Dust shapes depend on sunlight pressure, gravity, and gas jets.
New images show a compact, brilliant object without the signature feature that defines comets.
But none of those could explain this clean, sunward structure. On Earth, analysts debated whether it was a coincidence, a natural but rare event, or a sign that the object was shaping its environment in a way comets do not. Every new reading pushed scientists to say something uncomfortable. They did not understand what they were looking at. The object behaved like something with internal energy, unusual control over heat, and a dust pattern that followed rules seen nowhere else in space. If it was natural, it was a type of object never recorded before. If it was not natural, then the world was watching the first confirmed sign of something built rather than born. The mystery grew deeper when signs appeared that hinted at something even more surprising. A hint of life? James Webb noted that some emission patterns matched biological rhythms seen in living cells on Earth, and after its course change, the object dimmed, as if it switched to a quiet mode to hide activity. At this stage, scientists were not claiming proof of life. They were only trying to make sense of signals that looked oddly familiar. Some researchers working with high-resolution spectral analysis noticed a strange rhythm in the emissions coming from 3I Atlas. The intervals rose and fell in cycles that looked like patterns seen in certain biological systems on Earth. In living cells, chemical reactions often follow timed pulses, like breathing at the molecular level. Seeing something that faintly resembled those rhythms in an object from outside our solar system felt unreal. It could have been coincidence, but it made experts lean in closer. After the object's slight shift in course, its brightness changed suddenly. Instead of continuing to glow stronger as it neared sunlight, it dimmed for a short period, almost like it entered a quiet mode. Some observers described it as if the object was choosing to reduce its visible activity. Machines can idle, cells can rest, but comets do not usually dim on command. This moment fed speculation that the object might be controlling its own energy. There was no proof, only an eerie pattern that people could not ignore. Next came a surprise from deep scan imaging. Certain organic-like signals appeared inside the object's emissions. These patterns were not clear enough to say they were biological. However, a few chemical shapes looked similar to early building blocks of life, such as simple carbon chains and repeating ring structures seen in prebiotic chemistry.
Now, we all believe that we came out of a soup of chemicals. That's the scientific narrative of how human intelligence came on this Earth.
On Earth, these scaffolds are part of how primitive molecules begin to organize before life forms. In space, organic compounds are common, but the arrangement here looked unusually patterned, like something repeating with purpose. That drew more attention. Some microscopic structures matched faint outlines that looked similar to viral shells or ancient DNA segments from Earth's early history. It does not mean there were viruses or DNA in the object, but the shapes reminded scientists of those forms. These similarities forced astrobiologists to ask new questions. Could 3I Atlas be carrying dormant biological material? Could it hold life in a frozen stage, waiting for warmth to awaken it? Or was it producing chemical reactions that mimic life but are not alive? A bold idea took shape in quiet research groups. What if the object itself was not a vessel carrying life but a kind of life form? Not biological in the way we know, but something different. Something that uses metal instead of skin, energy cycles instead of breathing, and starlight instead of nutrients. Imagine an organism built for space travel, designed to sleep in darkness and activate when near a star. To some scientists, it felt like science fiction. To others, it was a valid question. Nature has surprised us before, and life on Earth has proven creative in ways we once thought impossible. These ideas remained speculation. No one claimed certainty. Yet every strange signal tugged researchers toward one unsettling thought. If life exists beyond Earth, it might not look like anything we expect. It might be hiding in plain sight inside what we once called a comet. Once the idea of life entered the discussion, other theories quickly followed. Advanced abilities and unsettling theories. As 3I Atlas moved deeper into the solar system, scientists tracking Earth's magnetic field near the South Atlantic anomaly, the weak point in our planet's magnetic shield, picked up more faint electromagnetic pulses. These pulses appeared at the same moments the object changed speed or orientation. It might have been coincidence, yet the timing lined up too cleanly for some researchers to ignore.
In this case, it could have implications to humanity if it is technological in origin.
If the signals were related, it hinted at a strange connection between the object and Earth's space environment. It raised an uncomfortable question. Could the object sense us or interact with us from millions of kilometers away? With the idea of biology already in the air, new theories grew quickly. Some experts suggested a possibility that sounded bold but not impossible. Maybe 3I Atlas was not a comet at all. Maybe it was a living traveler shaped by evolution on another world. Many deep-sea creatures on Earth evolved to survive extreme pressure, darkness, and isolation. Life finds a way to adapt to places we once thought empty. So if another world created life built for space, it might not look biological to us. It might look like metal and stone, yet still breathe energy and store information. Next came the gravity puzzle. Astronomers noticed that the object's motion did not perfectly match its calculated mass. It behaved as if it could adjust its path using more than momentum and solar gravity. This created speculation that it might bend space slightly, using a form of gravity control to steer. Humans have theories for such technology, but no real method to achieve it.
When it was closest to the Sun, we couldn't look at it because the Earth was on the opposite side.
If 3I Atlas was doing something like that, it would mean we were watching advanced physics in action. Rotation was the next clue. As telescopes measured its spin, they noticed it was not random. The object rotated in precise timing patterns connected to mathematical constants. Ratios matched numbers like pi, the golden ratio, and sequences seen in prime numbers. Nature sometimes creates patterns like these, but not with such clean repetition. To mathematicians, it looked like a silent language. Motion was being used the way humans use symbols or code. If that was true, then 3I Atlas might not only be traveling with purpose, it might be communicating. These clues pushed thinking away from the simple idea of a rock from another star. Minds began to consider that this visitor might be something engineered, or something evolved to function like intelligence. Some called it a probe. Others called it a traveler. Either way, the theories shifted toward one idea. If it was designed, then something designed it. And if it was alive, then space may hold life beyond what we understand. With rising questions came a hunt for meaning. If this thing knew where it was going, why was it here?
The biggest risk for anything on the surface is all these impacts by asteroids.
Attempts to understand its intent. With each new observation, curiosity turned into urgency. If 3I Atlas had purpose, scientists needed to know what that purpose was. Teams around the world began digging through old sky surveys and archived telescope records. That was when a surprising pattern appeared. 3 faint disturbances in space had been recorded in the same general direction in 1987, 1998, and 2013. At the time, they seemed unimportant, like odd signals or distant glimmers that did not match known objects. Now, with the new data from 3I Atlas, they lined up almost perfectly along its current path. That meant one thing. This might not be its first visit. If the object had been here before, then it might have been observing our system for decades or longer. This changed the tone of scientific meetings. What began as curiosity was becoming a deep mystery. Why return multiple times? Why remain quiet? If it had been here before, did it learn something? Was it studying us or studying the solar system as a whole? Communication attempts followed quickly. The largest radio telescopes on Earth focused on the object and sent carefully timed pulses into space.
In addition to ground-based studies, NASA space telescopes like Hubble, Webb, and SphereX.
These signals carried simple patterns like counting sequences and more complex coded messages. For 3 days, nothing happened. Then 1 hour after the final pulse was sent, the object's rotation shifted slightly. It was a tiny change, but the timing felt intentional. No words came back and no signal returned. It felt like a response without language, as if the object wanted to acknowledge the attempt without opening a full conversation. Trajectory studies added another layer to the mystery. Early models suggested it was coming toward the inner solar system in a gentle curve. but refined tracking showed a clearer path. It was heading near Jupiter and Saturn, specifically toward Europa and Enceladus. These two icy moons are believed to have liquid oceans beneath their frozen surfaces. Many scientists think those oceans could support life. If 3I Atlas chose that path on purpose, then its interest might not be Earth, but worlds that could already hold life or conditions for life. Speculation spread fast. One idea suggested that the object might be checking on life in different star systems, the same way we study microbes in extreme places on Earth. Another thought was even more bold. Maybe it carried life seeds, tiny biological material that could help kickstart life on young worlds. This concept matched a theory called panspermia, which says life might travel across space on rocks, dust, or artificial carriers.
Whether the object is of that size or maybe much smaller and surrounded by a cloud of dust.
If 3I Atlas played that role, then it could be part of a grand cycle of life between stars. Others saw a more cautious meaning. Maybe it was only watching, having come to monitor, learn, and move on, like a quiet scout drifting between planets. Silence can mean many things: caution, patience, or simply a form of communication we do not understand yet. If this visitor came on purpose, one final question rises above all the others. Why here, and why now? And what does it mean for us? What does it mean for us? As 3 Atlas moves closer, some researchers wondered if the comet could be a type of life form that survives the harsh emptiness between stars. Not life as we know it. Not plants or animals or microbes, but something built by nature in another part of the universe and shaped by rules we do not yet understand. If that is true, then life in the universe may be far more diverse and surprising than scientists ever imagined. Others took a different view. They said the object might be testing us, not in a hostile way, but out of curiosity. If humans notice, how do we react? Do we panic or do we study? Do we reach out or do we hide?
This was a really dramatic difference from what had been seen previously.
In this idea, 3I Atlas is watching human behavior as much as scientists are watching it. Almost like a visitor standing at the edge of a village, waiting to see how the people respond before deciding whether to approach. Governments and space agencies were not comfortable with guesses. They quietly increased telescope time, called emergency briefings, and set up private information channels. Satellites and deep space antennas began running silent tracking programs. Officials shared little with the public, worried that open talk could cause fear or misunderstanding. Knowledge became a careful balance between science and caution. But secrets do not stay quiet forever. Reports leaked, and soon news outlets and online groups began talking. Some saw the visitor as a sign of hope, proof that humans are not alone. Others feared danger and imagined unknown risks. Questions spread fast. What if something waits inside it? What if it brings knowledge? What if it carries a message? What if it is simply passing by and we are just lucky enough to see it? Scientists have stepped forward to calm the noise by reminding everyone that nothing is confirmed. Yes, the behavior is strange. Yes, the signals and movements raise questions. But clear answers take time. The universe is old and complex, and sometimes the truth arrives slowly, like light traveling across space. So humanity waits. We watch the sky, calculate paths, and debate what life can be outside Earth. And as this interstellar traveler continues its steady approach, we feel something new growing in our thoughts. Not fear or certainty, but something quieter and deeper, like a sense that we are part of a larger story unfolding in the universe. And as it continues its journey, one thing is clear. The universe may be far less quiet than we once believed. What do you think this discovery means for us? Comment down below.